Okay, now listen, you go up there and you tell them what you did. No, I don't want to. It's not that big of a... Dude, listen to me. You done goofed in the last episode, so you're going to march in front of that camera and tell all my good viewers exactly what you did wrong. Now get the up there. So, in the last video, I kinda said something like Prometheus was a Roman Titan, and that wasn't right. It was a Greek Titan. Say everything. Oh, come on, man! I am the biggest idiot on the face of the planet, and the fact that Tekking even keeps me around is tantamount to, didn't something like this happen last time, and that's kind of how I went all evil and tried to kill you? No, that's totally not. I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. Oh, okay. Sorry, it was a little bit of a haze. And I deserve to sleep in my little cupboard every night until I get whisked away to Hogwarts, at which time Tekking will then blow up. There, is that everything you have from me then? Hey then. Now, back in your cupboard! Ow! Hey everybody, Tekking101 here to review Bleach chapter number 562, entitled The Villain 2. Oh yeah, did you miss those sequentially numbered chapter title names that Kubo is kind of known for? I missed them, haven't really got them in a while. But yeah, so it's funny, I used to complain about them, and now I'm like, it actually kind of works here, because this kind of wraps up the final the battle between Maste Masculine and, well, pretty much like 3 or 4 different Shinigami. So I'm glad what Kubo was doing. I gave him accolades before that he was like staying with one solid fight the entire time. First we had the fight against him and Shuhei and them, and then it continues with Kensei and Rose, and it finally concludes with Renji appearing, ready to take down Maste Masculine in kind of an epic rematch, although they never really mentioned, like, oh, hey, I know you, hey, I know you. No, they never really mentioned that, but regardless, so Renji arrives, blocks Maste Masculine's Makan attack upon Rose. I guess Rose is still alive, but he's on the ground, kind of barely conscious. After this, Rukia also shows up next to him and also kind of asks for her to, I guess she wants to be in on the fight a little bit too, but Renji's just like, nah, it's okay, I got this. He seems more calm and collected in this chapter, than kind of like how Ichigo was when we saw him a couple chapters back, how Ichigo didn't freak out over the mindless little things. He was much more mature and grown up, and Renji, even though he's been a Shinigami longer than Ichigo has, he's also been kind of like very brash, very, like hot-headed, just jump into the fight right away, doesn't really take time to think, but this time he seems much more relaxed. He just, arrives on the scene, blocks the attack, and Rukia shows up. He's like, okay, Rukia, get Rose out of here so he can get healed. I'll be enough to take this guy down. And we all know that that's probably accurate given the fact that he just trained in the flipping Soul Palace, so there's no doubt in my mind that Renji alone is going to be enough for this guy. But Maste Masculine's a little bit ecstatic over this. He's just like, oh, wait a second, you guys aren't going to fight me 2-on-1? I thought you were going to do that like those other cowardly captains. Well, it doesn't really matter, because even them doing that cowardly act wasn't enough to take me down, and Renji just flatly states, thanks, but I'll be cowardly enough to win. Bleach 562, The Villain 2. What? No, but in actuality, that's pretty much how it goes, because Maste Masculine cannot hear a single word that Renji just said. He's just like, I think you just said something cool, but I got nothing. And it's kind of funny here, because a lot of people were wondering in the last chapter, I forgot to mention this, and I apologize, but everyone's like, well, now that his eardrums are broken, he can't hear people cheering, and therefore his whole superstar power has been negated. And I didn't get to mention this, although I probably would have just, hopped on the bandwagon with everyone else, although it's not exactly true. So Maste Masculine kind of has an idea, and it's kind of clever there that they made the star on his mask turn into a light bulb for that scene. It's funny, get it? And he shouts over to James. He's like, hey, James, get over here. And everyone's like, wait a second, James is like cut in half, like, okay, what's going on here? And James, he's still alive, he's still conscious, he doesn't even like act like he's in pain. He just kind of, sits up using his hands and just kind of bounces over to Maste Masculine. He's just like, yes, master, what do you want? Mask is just like, hey, yeah, I need your support here. I can't hear anything. I need you to cheer so I can get healed. And sure enough, James is just like, oh, yeah, that's no problem. I can do that, sir. Cheer up, superstar. And that cheering goes over to Maste Masculine, and despite the fact that he cannot hear the cheering is still enough to heal his wounds. And he's just like, yes, I have new eardrums. Oh, yeah, okay, great. I mean, you're not Naki Master Jiro, but I guess you get the job done. My theory on this is basically the following. So, here is a crappy stick figure drawing of Master Masculine and James, although you probably can't really discern the two. I'm sorry, my drawing skills suck. So, up to this point, we were always believing that just the act of cheering alone and Master Masculine hearing this cheering was enough to strengthen his power. In this chapter, we're led to be something different. So, basically, my theory here is that the act of the cheering alone entering Master Masculine's, hearing is not enough to strengthen him. It's the act of cheering alone which revitalizes his entire body. So basically, he hears any cheering. It's not that he hears it and then he reacts. It's just that his body reacts alone to the cheering. Kind of like how I guess a good explanation for this is if you're near a fire and you don't have to touch the fire to feel the heat. You can just get close enough to it and your body reacts to the heat. Kind of something like that. Not really a great analogy, but it's the best I could come up with. So essentially, he doesn't need to hear the cheering. It's just the cheering alone is enough to revitalize his body. So Renji's just standing there and he's just like, oh, I thought that little dude was dead. And, Master Masculine's revitalized. And like, what say you, villain, at my epic powers of revitalization? And Renji's just like, wow, you're really gross. And then Master Masculine just freaks out and he's just like, ah, you've insulted me. You shall feel the wrath of my head. Star Rocket Headbutt. Should I make this joke? I feel like I could, but at the same time I feel like, screw it, it's Christmas. Team Rocket's blasting off again! Or not. Essentially, Master Masculine rockets into the side of a building at, like, Mach 3, but I guess Renji just... I'm getting my, picture of Renji just casually sidestepping and just, like a vaudeville routine, just like, boom! Just like, oh, yeah, how'd that go? It's like, oh, you dodged my star rocket... Down! Oh, and a devastating elbow drop by Abarai, but unfortunately the superstar's not going to be done yet. I swear to God, Bill, this is wrestling at its finest right here. Hulk Hogan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Superstar Billy Ray, nobody has got the Superstar Master Masculine. Let me tell you right now, Bill, I don't know who any of those people were. So Mask gets back up, of course, and he just states that, I see, you dodged my attack and even elbowed me. You seem to be quite lucky, but you make a mistake, because with more angrier that I am increases my power and summons this star mark on my fist, and it's born to fight evil. Okay, Kubo, look, I understand, like, I kind of get where you're going with this character. This character archetype is very common in manga and anime. The big brutish guy who, he relies mostly on his physical strength and not on his mental power. I mean, granted, Master Masculine's a little bit more intelligent than other villains in that vein. Like, he's smarter than Yami. I'll give him that much. I mean, that's not saying much. That's like saying you have the IQ level equivalent to a horse. But hey, at least you're a little bit more smarter than that dude. But here, it's just like blatantly ripping the guy off. He's like, the angrier I get, the stronger I become. Okay. Yeah, we know where you're going with this, all right? I know, maybe he's just like sad about how he ended Yami off. Maybe he's even a little bit disappointed, like, man, I really should have had Yami die a little bit more dignified death than just an off-camera slugfest by Byakuya and Kenpachi. Screw it, I'll just throw it in here with Master Masculine. So, he summons the ultimate evil fighting star in his hand and releases the killer punch right in freaking Renji's forehead. States that this punch alone is 10 times stronger than his normal one, and since his normal punch was enough to, like, level a building, this punch alone is enough to just atomize whatever thing it comes in contact with. But, unfortunately for Master Masculine, yeah, Renji's kind of badass now. Hey, I kind of remember seeing this before. Do you ever get that hint of deja vu? Like, oh, hey, there it is. Yes, in this chapter, for all intensive purposes, against Master Masculine, Renji is essentially Dangai Ichigo. That's basically all I got for you. He blocks the punch, and as you can figure, since Master Masculine had such pride in this attack, he's like, this is my strongest attack. It can atomize you into gray matter. And of course, that didn't work, so he just resorts to the whole Berserker Jidambo battle offensive, where he's just like, oh, it didn't work the first time, so I'll do it 15 more times and see if that helps. So he just releases this never-ending barrage of punches down on where he thinks Renji is, creates a massive explosion, kicks up dust, and of course, in all this confusion, he turns around after the attack. James is there, and he's just like, Mister, I'm sorry, but then, boom! Okay, he's gone. All right, he's gone. I had the idea that James, last chapter, was down because, Rose cut him in half. I guess, I'm even debating if he was even human or Quincy. Maybe he was just, like, some artificial construct. I'm not saying robot. I'm not saying, like, BG9. But I'm saying, like, he obviously was able to survive an attack like that without even really bleeding that much or really even responding to pain. So maybe he was just like an artificial construct created by Yu Habak to just carry around with Master Masculine, so therefore he would have his, power at the ready whenever he was around. Therefore, he always had somebody to cheer for him, he already had somebody to heal him because that's the brunt of his power. Or, I'm not sure exactly how the Quincy's are created. I mean, this has been debated a long time, like, are the Quincy's just around? Were they in that shadow dimension for 200 years? But wherever, if they were created artificially, or if their powers were given to them artificially by Yuha, maybe Superstar Master Masculine's power manifested as James. Maybe something like that. So he's not like a normal Quincy. He's not a human. He's kind of not either. He's just an extension of Mask's power. But regardless of that, he's freaking jelly now. Like, there's no way he's standing back up now. He's gone. His head was split into, like, fifths. And, so he turns around. He's shocked by this. And Renji's standing there behind him. He's just like, yeah, while you were busy, atomizing the dirt, I basically snuck behind James and just cut him into, like, 1,000th pieces. So, yeah, there's no way. So Renji is... he's going to win this. It's going to be in some epic fashion. So Mask finally starts getting the clue, like, oh, maybe this guy's a little bit stronger than me, and he starts reacting in a little bit of fear here, and Renji's just like, in the end, villains are all cowards. Whoa! Hey, you guys ever get the idea of deja vu or something? Oh, hey, there it is! Yeah, okay, so that's the end of Bleach Chapter 562. Very brief, like I said, but it worked in a sense, I'm freaking jingle bells are driving me freaking crazy. I'm gonna have a headache now. But, yeah, it's like, the past 3 chapters worked in, like, a good series of, like, a 3-part fight. There were no breaks in between. There were no cutaways to something else. It was just a solid fight, and I understand you can't do every fight like that in an arc, because, we have, like, all these enemies now that are fighting against all these captains and lieutenants, so we can't have, like, like a 3-part fight for this guy, 3-part fight for this guy, because that would take forever in the same time period. But given the fact that this fight right here is basically just a brawl fest, it really was. I mean, the most, the most out there ability we got was when, Rose used his Bankai ability, but that was only for, like, half of last chapter. But for the most part, Master Masculine's power is not very, magical based or, anything like out there. It's really just, punches and kicks and just, his healing ability is interesting, but aside from that, it's just a full-on brunt, like a wrestling match, essentially. So I can understand why Kubo kept it consistent. I'm thinking we're going to cut away from this last chapter. Maybe, like, it'll open up with Renji saying something to Rukia, who's there. Rukia comes back, is like, okay, they're all safe now, what do we do? And Renji's just like, we end the war, that's what we fucking do, and then they head off to different locations, but then we cut away to something else completely different. Maybe we'll finally cut back to Yuha to see what he's doing. Haven't really got a lot of him in the last, in this continuation of the arc. We had him when the arc first started with, him standing over the Vendante, triumphant, and then we had him when he was punishing Kangdu and BG9, but aside from that, we haven't really seen him very much, or we haven't really seen him talk or establish anything very much. So maybe next chapter we'll get a little bit more of that. Maybe we'll finally get the revelation of the last couple of Stern Ritters that are still ambiguous. I think we have C and M and N and X, so that'd be pretty cool. I had a theory last night. I was on a live stream with Nostradamus, Anime Dev Squad Hangout. You should totally check that out below. But we were having a discussion, like, what happens if one of the Stern Ritters turns out to be the medic or a healer type Stern Ritter? We made it to, like, the joke, like, it's Stern Ritter M the medic. So he just shows up and, Master Masculine's, like, cut in half on the ground, bleeding out, like, ready to die, and he's just like, oh, you're good. Okay, see ya, bye. And I'm just like, well, it would make sense for one of the Stern Ritters to have, like, medical abilities, because there's 26 of them. You think that at least out of the 26, one of them would have the ability to heal others, or at least heal themselves in a, in a more efficient way than just hearing crowd cheers. I also made the reference, like, maybe Giselle Guel, Stern Ritter Z, is like the zombie, and she can, like, resurrect her fallen compatriots as mindless zombies, with maybe not as much power as they had in life, but still resurrect them, indefinitely, like zombies. Like, you cut them, they can't feel pain, stuff like that. But those are just ideas I have thrown out there. But all in all, pretty good solid chapter. We got a little bit of a hint of exactly what Renji's full power is. We didn't get to see his Bankai or anything, but it was kind of like Dangai Ichigo. It really was, where he shows up, he's all calm and collected, and he doesn't even really show off the full extent of his power. He's just using like regular, blocks and, counterattacks and parries, and that is enough to knock your opponent into submission. So, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more from what he does, probably the same level as Rukia, if, maybe he's a little bit higher than Rukia, but Rukia is still probably on at least a captain type level at this point. So, hope you guys enjoyed my video. Tekking101 signing out! and incidentally, I'm not really sure if we're going to get a manga chapter of Bleach before Christmas, because I didn't really say at the end of this one, but if you're one of my viewers that only likes to watch my Bleach videos and you don't really watch anything else I do, or if this is your first chapter review of me, I would just like to wish you a very Merry Christmas, or a Happy Christmas, or Happy Holidays, depending on whatever you celebrate out there in the world. Have a fun time, be with your family, hope you get a lot of cool stuff, and yeah, just have an awesome time, guys. Okay, signing out.